We're starting. Bezrat Hashem. Shalom Aleichem to Katie, who's watching, and nobody else is here physically right now. Shalom Aleichem to my mother, and to Avital, and David, Carlos, Chaya, everybody that watches later, and Yael, when she shows up. And we're going to continue. Oh, maybe Yael is there. We're going to continue as we do, as is our custom, to just keep going forward. Bezrat Hashem. Aryeh and Meir are moving to a new apartment, so hopefully they'll be here next time. And we're going to start a new lesson. We're starting Pei Bet, which is 82. And this is a pretty short lesson. We'll probably finish it in either this week or next week. Shalom Aleichem to Yael. And it starts off with a quote from the Gemara. Rabbeinu Zal Maktim, Rabbi Nachman of blessed memory, opens up with the verse, Ita muva b'Gemara, it's brought in the Gemara, in Masechet Shabbat, Pei Chet, Hane'elamim ve'einam olvim, those that are offended, that people offend them, but they don't take offense, Shomim chirpatam ve'einam meshivim, they hear the curses or the put down and they don't respond. Osim me'ava v'smechim b'yisurim. They do things out of an act of love and they're joyous even in their afflictions. Aleim katuv omer, and regarding them it says in Shoftim, V'oahav ketzet hashemesh b'gvura. And Hashem loves people like this, like the sun that like when the sun comes out in its full force. Velehelan yivaer. There's Chaya and Mates. Shalom Aleichem. Lehelan yivaer et haremez b'divrei Gemara al pi Torah zo. So this is how Rabbi Nachman opens his lessons. He gives us a quote, and from there he's going to explain the meaning through the Hasidic lens, as we call it. So I'm still having a little coughing, so I'm drinking a lot of liquid. Bezrat Hashem, won't be coughing. Aleph, Hine noda b'tikunei HaZohar. It's brought in Tikunei HaZohar, and we'll read the translation because the Zohar is written in Aramaic. Amar Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Elazar said, Abba, lama asor listakel v'keshet? Father, why is it forbidden to look at the rainbow? Amar lo Rabbi Shimon. So this is right. Rabbi Elazar is Rabbi Shimon's son. Rabbi Shimon, and we know that in the lifetime of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai there wasn't a rainbow, because the rainbow is a sign of Hashem's anger. So Rabbi Shimon said to his son, B'ni, my son, Biglal otam haklipot shemitlapshim bo, because of the klipot, which are the external layers, impure layers that are enclosed in it. Shehem bo, and that are enclosed around it, and that are within it. Shehem ruach se'ara, which is a great storm. Anan gadol, a great cloud. Ve'esh mitlakachat, and a fiery flame, and a consuming flame. Ve'noga lo saviv, and klipat noga is surrounding all of that. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight, the different klipot, the different impure layers, and then we have klipat noga, which is the neutral layer. V'zeu shera'a Yechezkel alav shalom. This is what Yechezkel, blessed memory, saw. She'amar ve'ere v'hine ruach sara ba min hatzafon. So now he's giving the source for this thing, so we're going to skip that here. Okay, so this is the source for it. This is where it comes from. It comes from the Zohar. Ki yesh shalosh klipot tmeot hamesovavot et hakdusha. There are 3 layers. I'm looking for something to use for an analogy here. So we're going to use the clock. There are 3 layers surrounding. So imagine 1 layer, 2 layer, 3 layers, right? 3 layers surrounding the kedusha. And what's the layer in between the kedusha and the klipot? That's klipat noga. So that's what we're talking about. We have, and these are energetic or spiritual things. So we have kedusha, we have holiness, and then surrounding it is klipat noga, which is the neutral klipa, and then there's 3 klipot that go above it, and these are the 3 impure klipot that are surrounding the kedusha. Now, there's many things we can extrapolate just from this right here. We know that every time there's kedusha, there's going to be klipa. There's going to be negative energy. So, for example, the shul that I daven in on Shabbos, where the rabbi is a shining tzaddik, and it's a very special and joyous shul, and I've been davening there for 30 years or so. Next door is a building of Christian missionaries, Jews for Jesus. People have tried to burn down the building. It's very funny. It's made out of stone. You're not going to burn it down. But they get very upset when they realize what it is. And it's actually a former friend of mine who owns the house, American guy that became a Jew for Jesus. But really what you see is it's elum azeh asa, one juxtaposed to the other. When we have kedusha, we have holiness, we're going to have klipa, we're going to have the same negative energy. The negative energy draws its sustenance from the holiness. So within holiness itself, and you can just imagine however you want to imagine it, the word kodesh or whatever, surrounding the kodesh is a very thin neutral layer, and then 3 levels of klipot, of negative energy. And they are called ruach se'ara v'anan gadol ve'esh midlakachat. The great storm, the large cloud, and the flame that consumes. V'klipat noga shehi ma'orevet, and klipat noga, which is a mix of the 2. Pchinat eitz hadat tov v'ra. This is like an aspect of the tree of good and knowledge, of knowing the difference between good and bad. What is klipat noga? And I'll give you an example. Klipat noga, for example, money is klipat noga. So money can be used for doing transgressions, or money can be used for doing mitzvot. Wine is the same thing. Wine can be used for making kiddush, or wine can be used for getting drunk. So these are things that are fully, they can go either direction. Something that's completely impure, for example, would be stealing, pornography, drugs, things that there's no good in them whatsoever. They're completely impure. And then we have the opposite side. What is only Kodesh is probably Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur. But surrounding the Ne'ilah on Yom Kippur, there's still going to be all of these klipot. Surrounding all the Kedusha, there's going to be these klipot. So klipat noga, she omedet bein shloshet klipot u bein kedusha. So like I said, it's the thin layer between the actual holiness and the negative energy surrounding the holiness. There's a famous quote by Benjamin Disraeli, who was the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, and I don't know if he grew up Jewish, but his parents converted to Christianity. But he considered himself a Jew. He understood that he was a Jew. It was just a technical thing. And I'm not sure if it was the Queen or the King, one of them asked him, "So are you a Jew or a Christian?" And his famous answer is, he said, "I, Madame," I guess it was the Queen, "am the blank piece of paper between the Old Testament and the New Testament." So that was a beautiful diplomatic definition of where he stood. And that, in a sense, is Klipat Noga. So we have the Old Testament, for example. I forgot to turn off Do Not Disturb. We have the Old Testament, which is the Tanakh, which would be Kedusha. Then after that, you have a blank piece of paper, which would be Klipat Noga. And then after that, we have the New Testament, which would be all of the Klipot, all of the negative energy. So that's actually a great example of what we're talking about. So Klipat Noga stands between the Klipot and the Kedusha. V'lifamim nichledet b'Kedusha, and sometimes it's included in Kedusha, kagon b'Shabbat Kodesh, for example, on Shabbat Kodesh, or al yedei ma'asav tovim, like this is what I just said, or through doing good acts. V'lifamim nichledet b'Klipa, shechas v'shalom mifateh al yeda ve'nofel lechet. And sometimes it's included in the klipa that, God forbid, tempts a person and causes a person to fall into doing a transgression. So you can take the wine, for example, or the money. You can use the money for mitzvot, you can use the wine for mitzvot, and you can use the wine for bad things, and you can use the money for bad things. That's the concept of klipat noga. Vehi Klipat Noga, and Klipat Noga, Pchinat Nishmat Ha'ashukim, an oppressed soul. Nishmot She'hen Yotzot Mimakor HaNeshamot Lavo La'olam Hazeh, the souls that when they came out of the treasury of souls to come into this world, Vehem Nachtafot Al Yedei Klipat Noga, Biglal avon avihem, and they're snatched by the klipa of Noga because of the transgressions of their forefathers. Shehem noldot ba'olam, that came about in this world. Vehem metot bekatnutam al yidei lilit harasha, and they die through their, I guess, their the forbidden acts that they do through the negative energy, which is called Lilit, Harasha, the evil one. You're not supposed to say the name, but I'm saying it because I want people to understand what I'm saying. She Chelek Hara Shebeklipat Noga, which is the bad part of Klipat Noga. Ve'dai lemevin, and somebody who is perceptive will understand what we're talking about. So my son-in-law, his mother is Inbar, what's her name? And they named one of our granddaughters Chana Inbar, because it's a Sephardi tradition to name after living people. Even though they're Chabad, he's originally Sephardi. So somebody said to Noga, "Are you offended that they named the baby after the mother-in-law and not after you?" And she said, "In a Chabad family, nobody's going to name a baby Noga." And now you know why. Klipat Noga, nobody's going to name her after, Zahav Shalom Aleichem. Okay, so we're continuing. Nachar shebe'er Inyan Gimel Klipot Kashot V'Klipat Noga. So now we've gone over these three external Klipot and the Klipa of Noga. Yevaer, now he's going to explain Ketzad Heim Melubashot Ba'olam. How are they enclothed in this world? Ubazeh Yitperu Mitzvat Ola Mitzvat Milah. And with this, he's going to clarify the mitzvah of Orla, which is when you have new fruit from a tree that you just planted, and the mitzvah of Milah, which is the circumcision, which is removing. So this is removing the klipa. That's why he's going to bring it here. V'zeu b'bchinat sidrei Bereshit, and this is the order in Bereshit. Shematzina b'kama b'chinot seder shem kedimat haklipa lepri, that we find in the order of what's the first klipa that comes out in the fruit. Dehine kshenotshim ilan tzarich lechakot. When you plant a tree, you have to wait. Shalosh shnei orla. 3 of the 2 orla, which is the impure layer of the klipa, shehem keneged shalosh klipot, which is representing the 3 klipot hanal is mentioned above. So then it's forbidden to eat the fruits of the tree. So if you plant a tree and it's been planted from a sapling or a seed and it starts to grow, you have to wait 3 years before you can eat the fruit. And that's representative of the 3 layers of klipa that we're talking about. Because they have the 3 layers of klipa, as we mentioned above. And there's no way to fix this. So if a person consumes the fruit before the 4th year, then they're consuming these negative energies. And on the 4th year, it has the ruling of being the 4th year that it's grown. שיש לפירות תיקון על ידי מעלה את הפירות ואוכלים בירושלים. So what do we do? How do we bring a tikkun? So right, you could say they're covered in 3 years of klipot, and what, all of a sudden they disappear? No, they don't disappear, but the difference is this has a tikkun. This is something that you fix it with, and how do you fix it? You take the fruit, you make the journey to Jerusalem, and you eat the fruit in Jerusalem. V'arevi'i hu keneged klipat noga. And the 4th is in relationship to klipat noga, b'bchinat tovara, which is connected to good or bad, good and bad, but it's really good or bad. V'lachen tzarich letaken et hara v'lichlol ota batov. And so we have to fix the bad or the evil and include it in the good. V'hatov shebeklipat noga hu b'chinat chashmal. And the good that's within Klipat Noga, so the bad that was in Klipat Noga was Lilit, and the good that's in Klipat Noga is Chashmal. So Chashmal, everybody knows in modern Hebrew, is electricity. But Chashmal includes within it a Kabbalistic concept, which we're going to talk about here. I think it also has to do with the chariot that Yechezkel saw. Here it is. So it says in Yechezkel, "V'nogo lo saviv u'mitocha ke'en ha'chashmal b'tocha esh." So Yechezkel had this vision of this chariot, and it had animals, and it had the face of a person, and it had this energy coming out of it, and that's Noga. Noga means a bright light. And so it had this bright light surrounding it, and then chashmal betocha esh, and there was this light within the fire surrounding it. So that's where chashmal comes from. Now Rabbi Nachman separates the words chash and mal, which maybe we'll get to tonight. If not, we'll get to it next week. So there's the negative energy, and now we have the positive energy within klipat noga, shehu kedusha. Ki lefamim hara shebenoga. Sometimes the evil that's within Noga, which is symbolized by the negative energy called Lilit, Nofel va'az hinchlelet b'mal orot, falls, but then it's included in the 70 lights. And so there we have we have chash and we have mal. So there we have mal. Shivim orot shel kedusha. 70 lights of holiness. Noga is definitely a bright light, Baruch Hashem. The 70 lights of holiness that we have in the kedusha. V'zeu shebi'anu ki yeshnam gimel klipot kashot. So now we've already talked about, we have these 3 hard or negative klipot that are surrounding klipat noga, which is surrounding the holiness. Sheyesh yesh lehashlichan b'pchinat orla. And we want to get rid of them, and that's the aspect of orla. V'yeshnam klipa revi'it, and we also have the 4th layer, which is noga, sheyesh letakna, which has a way of fixing it. The other 3 don't have a way of fixing it. V'zeu sod milah ve'pri'ah. And this is also the secret of circumcision, and pri'ah is the separation of the foreskin. Ki yesh be'orla shalosh orot, because in orla there's 3 lights. Shem keneged shalosh klipot hakashot hanal, which is juxtaposed to the 3 negative klipot, as we mentioned before. She ein lehem tikun, that there's no way of fixing them or doing anything with them. V'lachen tzarich levaran b'milah, and so we have to purify them by doing milah, by having a circumcision. V'od yeshna b'milah o dak revi'i, and also in the circumcision there's, so here we're talking about skin. There's a 4th skin, b'pchinat noga, which is also called noga. It's connected to noga. V'al yidei pri'ah, and by the separation of the skin, na'aset be'or revi'i, we have this 4th skin, she'al yidei kach she'ofchim et ha'or. Through this we change the skin. Bazeh ofchim et ha'ra shebeklipat noga, and with this we switch over the evil that's within klipat noga. Va'atov b'noga ola v'nichlal b'kedusha. So what happens with the circumcision? So there's an outer layer of skin, and it's removed, it's cut off, and by doing that we cut off the klipa, and we reveal the part, so the where the milah is happening, it has the potential to be both. If the boy doesn't have a circumcision, then he's not able to be a Jew. He has the potential to be a Jew, but he's not a Jew. He's not included in a minyan. He's not considered a Jew, even if his mother is Jewish, because it has this klipa on it. But when you remove the klipa, then and that's also, the circumcision is klipat noga, because we can either leave the foreskin and have it remain in a negative energy, or we can remove it and reveal the positive holy energy. V'az mitgaleh hamal shebekdusha. Now he's also connecting the word mal, right? We had chashmal. Chashmal has the 2 sides, the negative and the positive. Mal is the 70 lights of holiness, and mal is also related to milah, which is the removal of the foreskin, shebekdusha. לאחר שבאר שהעולה היא ג' קליפות, יבאר ג' פסוקים שהעולה היא חרפה ובושה. Now he's going to bring a text proof to show that the orla is connected to chirpa and busha, which is putting somebody down, being embarrassed. V'siluk ha-klipot shehi hasarat ha-chirpa, and getting rid of the klipot, which is removing the disgrace. V'chol ha-charafot ha-bizyonot ve'enbonot, and all of the disgraces, meaning putting somebody down and offending a person, habaim la'adam, that come to a person, heim mishalosh klipot hanal, they come from these 3 klipot as mentioned above. Perush, the meaning is, she'adam mefateh lachto al yedei kli'ah hanoga mefateh, when a person is tempted to do a transgression through klipat noga, through the klipa of noga, which tempts a person, right? Because it can be either way. If we take wine, for example, a person can see a bottle of wine on Shabbos and say, I have something to do Kiddush with. A person can see a bottle of wine on Shabbos and say, I have something to get drunk with. So that's a klipat noga. So when klipat noga comes and attempts a person to transgress, yonkot gimel klipot kashot anal me'akdusha shelo derech klipat noga. How does the negative energy, these three levels of negative energy that are surrounding the kedusha, how does it draw its sustenance? It draws it through klipat noga, because if a person had some type of neutral thing and they could use it for one thing or use it for another, the second they use it for something bad instead of something good, it came through klipat noga, because it could have gone either way. That's klipat noga. But the second that it goes in the negative way, then that the negative energy is drawing its sustenance from the klipa of noga, because it's the intermediary energy between holiness and the negative energy. V'heim mitchaskot la'azik la'adam, and they get stronger in order to cause damage to a person. V'chein lechirpo, and so it is for their disgrace, liyapsho o levozoto. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right. And so it is to disgrace them and embarrass them and put them down. ומפני זה אמרו אחי דינה לאנשי שכם, and this is why the brothers of Dinah said to the people of Shechem, you remember that Dinah was raped, I think it was the son of the king of Shechem, and the son said, I'll do anything to marry her, and the brothers said to the king, circumcise everybody in Shechem, and then we'll allow you to marry our daughter. In the end, when everyone was suffering from the circumcision, they went in and killed everyone. But the point that Rabbi Nachman wants to bring is that they said, "Lo nuchal latet et achotenu leish asher lo ola." We can't give our sister, who is a Jew and on a higher spiritual level, to a man that's still uncircumcised, because he has the negative energy of the uncircumcised area. Ki chirpa hi nanu, because it will be a disgrace for us. So now he's saying, okay, here's my first text connection to prove that I'm not just making this stuff up. Here we have orla, and we have circumcision, and we have chirpa, disgrace. Ki haola shi b'chinat shalosh klipot atmeot hi chirpa, because the orla, the foreskin, is connected to the three outer layers that are negative energy, and that's chirpa, connected to disgrace, as mentioned above. V'gam Yoshua, and also Yoshua, achar shemal et Yisrael shenit, when Yoshua circumcised the second person, I'm not sure what this is. This is where I needed Aryeh to give me his yeshiva background. The second, let's find out what this is. This was given over in the 5th chapter of Yoshua. That the Jewish people were circumcised before they left Egypt. Ulam kol ha'am asher noldu b'meshech 40 shana v'alchu Yisrael b'midbar. But the entire nation that was born during the 40 years of wandering in the desert and came to the land of Israel, lo malu, they were not circumcised. V'al zeh katuv, and regarding this it says, Amar Hashem el Yoshua, aseh lecha charavot tzurim v'shuv mul et b'nei Yisrael shenit. So Hashem said to Yoshua, make for yourself sharp knives. And again, the cats are hearing this. I don't blame them for wanting to fight over hearing this one. And again, circumcise the Jewish people. V'atam shalom alu Yisrael b'midbar, and why didn't they circumcise the Jews when they were in the desert? Gemara b'yamamot. Okay, shalom nashva lehem ruach tzfonit. The reason that they didn't have a northern wind, so that requires more knowledge than I have to understand the northern wind and why they didn't get circumcised. But that's what it means. So now we're back to Gam Yoshua, that circumcised the Jewish people for the second time. So now we know that the Jews that left Egypt were circumcised, but those who were born in the desert were not. And now they were going to be circumcised. I don't know if the people, I guess there's nothing to circumcise once you're circumcised. Hayom goloti et chirpat Yisrael. And what did Yoshua say? Today I revealed the disgrace of Israel. Hasauti et chirpa. I removed the disgrace. Shehaita b'Yisrael shehi ha'ola. I removed the disgrace from the Jewish people, which is the foreskin. Ki ikar charafot ba'im mibchinat ola. Because the main aspect of disgrace comes about through orla, through the foreskin, shebichinat shalosh klipot kanan, which is connected to the 3 klipot as mentioned above. V'an ken shenolad Yosef, and so now we have another quote. This was the 3 quotes they promised us before regarding Yosef. When Yosef was born, Amra imo, his mother said, Asaf Elokim et chirpati. Hashem gathered up my disgrace. Me'ata lo charfu v'yivazu oto yoter. Now he's not going to be disgraced or put down anymore. Ki bihit galut v'bchinat Yosef shehu b'chinat kedushat habrit, because in the revelation of the aspect of which is Yosef, which connected to the holiness of the circumcision, ki Yosef HaTzadik zechad sfirat hayasod, because Yosef HaTzadik merited to be connected to the sphira, to the attribute of Yesod, which is foundation. B'pchinat Mila kenoda, and Yesod is connected to Mila, circumcision, as it's known. Right, everybody knows that. Doesn't say here. Okay. Ne'asvu v'nitpalu ha'charafot, and so they were gathered up and nullified the disgraces. Hainu ashalosh klipot kanan. That is the 3 klipot as mentioned above. So those are Rabbi Nachman's text proofs to say, this is where I'm getting this from, and this is the idea behind it. So we're going to do one small paragraph here, and then next week we're going to finish the lesson, which is like another 2 pages here. Okay? V'zeu hakavana rechitzat mayim chamim be'erev Shabbat Kodesh. And this is the intention behind taking a hot bath on Erev Shabbos, the Holy Shabbos. So, Baruch Hashem for hot baths before Shabbos, because some of my kids, thank God less so now because they're older, but there's still a little bit left in the house, don't always like to take showers during the week, but because it says that you have to take a shower before Shabbos, so they do. Ki az klipot noga nichlelet b'kedusha, because that's when the klipa of noga is brought into the holiness. So on Shabbos, we don't have the negative energy on Shabbos. Of course, it's there if you want to look for it. You can find it. You can break Shabbos. You can do all kinds of things on Shabbos. But you have a much better chance of taking the klipat noga and connecting it to only the holy side than the opposite side on Shabbos. V'az chafetzim gam hashalosh klipot hatmeot la'alot yachad ima le'choz b'kedusha. So it's specifically on Erev Shabbos that the 3 klipot, impure klipot, want to go up together and to hold on to the holiness. V'az yodim b'pchinat, and then it comes down the aspect of Shir HaShirim, Shalhevet Ka, the fiery flame of Hashem, or the enthusiasm of Hashem, Shehi b'chinat ruchanit shel esh, which is like a spiritual fire. Shemechane otam shelo yachzu b'kedusha, that mechane otam, I don't remember the word, I guess they're called so because they don't hold on to the holiness. V'hu b'chinat mayim chamim, and this is connected to hot water. So the hot water, it's also the reason that men go to the mikveh daily or Erev Shabbos or on Shabbos. Women go for a different reason, to remove the klipa in the mikveh. And also, mayim chamim, you can just stand in the shower and it also has an effect. I remember during Corona when they shut down the mikvahs, so the halacha was if the floor of the shower is wet before you get in it, and then you stand under the water, and your intention is that it will be like a mikveh. Now, this is not for a woman that menstruates, but for somebody who couldn't go to the mikveh, so that was considered going to the mikveh. And here you also have mayim chamim, just bathing yourself in warm water and hot water. And it's removing the klipot. That's the reason for it. That's why we take a hot shower before Shabbos, to remove the klipot, which are just basically begging for that second to connect to the holiness of Shabbos, but you don't allow it because you remove it through taking the shower. Lechen, therefore, anu rotzchim be'erev Shabbat v'mayim chamim. That's why we take a shower with hot water, or take a bath with hot water on erev Shabbos, just before Shabbos. Ki ha'adam ha'gashmi hu keneged b'pchinat ha'adam ha'ruchani, because the physical person is compared to the spiritual person, shebe'olamot ha'elyonim, that are in the supernal worlds. Va'klipot rotzot le'achos bo, and the klipot want to grab onto that person, physically and spiritually. Shu gamkein kavanat netilat tziponaim be'erev Shabbat Kodesh. It's also the reason that we wash our hands, or specifically here it says nails, before erev Shabbos. Before Shabbos, kanoda, as it's known, kadei shelo yanku haklipot. So I think it means to trim your nails. Shelo yanku haklipot b'pchinat hayadayim v'agaglaim ha'elyanot. That the klipot won't draw sustenance from the supernal, the spiritual hands and feet, derech hatziponayim, through the nails, shehem motorot haguf, which is the leftover, unneeded parts of the body, like the hair and the nails. Shehem yeshnam achiza klipot. That's where the klipot, the negative energy, exists in a physical way. V'lachein kotzatzim otam, and that's why we trim our nails on erev Shabbos. Okay, so that's where we're stopping for tonight. Where's my bookmark? Here it is. And I'll just tell you where he's going, so don't leave you in suspense. He says, what happened? So we started off, we were talking about a person that's embarrassed or disgraced and doesn't respond. Hashem appreciates them like the sun when it's in full force. So basically, when a person is, somebody calls you a name and you don't respond, and hopefully you don't get too upset about it, if you're able to do that, then it's going to elevate you, because you're removing, in a sense, the klipa from yourself. This person threw something at you, you were able to bounce it off of you, and that connects you to the holiness. That's where we're going next week. Okay, so I have one very short story for you. Rabbi Zalman Leib Teitelbaum, the rabbi of Sighet, was a chassid of Rabbi Chaim Halberstam of Sanz. The Sanz a Rebbe, and he always traveled to be with his Rebbe for the Chagim. At one point, there was a disagreement between the Sanz a Rebbe and the children of the Rizhner Rebbe, but Rabbi Zalman Leib didn't get involved, and he didn't support either side. And when he was asked why he didn't side with the Sanz a Rebbe, Rabbi Zalman Leib answered, "The Rebbe is great, but he's not greater than Moshe Rabbeinu. I learned from my grandfather not to get involved in arguments, even if it involves Moshe Rabbeinu himself." Meaning, even if it meant for him defending Moshe Rabbeinu. And he explained that his grandfather, Rabbi Moshe Teitelbaum, so this was Rabbi Zalman Leib Teitelbaum, and his grandfather was Rabbi Moshe Teitelbaum of the, I can't even pronounce it, Ujhele, that's probably not how you say it, Ujhele, the Hasidic Rebbe knows the Yismach Moshe. So the Yismach Moshe used to say that he knew that his soul had been reincarnated 3 times, and in a previous life he'd been among the Jewish people that were redeemed from Egyptian slavery. And as a child, so the grandson, Rabbi Zalman Leib, asked his grandfather when he was a child, "Zaidi, when you came out of Egypt, were you alive during the dispute between Korach and his followers? And he said, yes. So he said, tell me, Zaidi, which side were you on? Right? So the grandfather had a memory of his soul leaving Egypt, and he remembered the dispute between Korach and Moshe and Aaron. Now, we know about the dispute, right? We say Korach is evil, and Korach fell into the pit until today. He's saying Moshe is right, and I was wrong. But we know that Korach, was actually very holy. So he said, which side were you on? And he said, my child, you can't imagine what a holy man Korach was. He was held in great esteem by many important people and had a large following. Right? It wasn't for nothing that he rebelled against Moshe. He was wrong, but he was doing it he really had good intentions. You can say the same thing for the Vilna Gaon, who also, turned in the Alter Rebbe, and a death sentence was declared on the Alter Rebbe, but his intentions were pure. They were wrong, but they were pure. So he said, on the other side, we have on the one side Korach, and on the other side we have Moshe Rabbeinu, and I decided that the best way to deal with such a division is to stay out of it. Through the entire controversy, until Moshe and his brother Aaron, the high priest, were declared the leaders, I remained inside my tent, and I didn't go out even once. And you, my dear grandson, should do the same. Learn this lesson for life. Whenever there's an argument, keep away. Lock yourself in the house if necessary, so that you're not forced to join one side. But what made an impression on me from this story was that he didn't know which side he would be on. Would he be on the side of Korach or on the side of Moshe Rabbeinu? So let's sing. I think they're singing next door, if I'm not mistaken. I don't want to disturb them. So we're going to leave it at that for tonight. And Yasher Koach to everyone for joining, and we'll continue next week, B'ezrat Hashem.